Hello, everyone. Well, it's been quite some time since I last spoke with you, and I've been overwhelmed with work that I've been doing and haven't been able to touch base with you guys for a little while. But now I'm back, and um, since I last spoke with you, the war in Iran started, so I haven't spoken to you in almost a month. And the war in Iran happened within days of me posting the video about the Epstein files. And this war in Iran, I'll tell you what I think about it. I'll tell you honestly what I think about the war in Iran. I think that the war in Iran is unnecessary and it's a loss of human life and it didn't need to happen. It didn't need to happen. It was because Trump was trying to cover up what was going on with the Epstein files, and he succeeded. He distracted everyone's attention away from the Epstein files, and now no one's talking about the Epstein files. The media is silent on the Epstein files. All they want to talk about is the war in Iran. And we heard the news about Robert Mueller dying, and um, very sorry for his family and offer our condolences. What Trump said about Mueller was unacceptable, and I demand an apology on behalf of Robert Mueller and his family from Trump. That was unacceptable to what Trump said about Robert Mueller when he died. And saying, he said, good, I'm glad he's dead. So, just for future reference, in case you want to know what it was that Trump said about Robert Mueller, he said, good, I'm glad he's dead. And then, what else has been in the news? So the war in Iran was was unnecessary. They weren't posing a threat to us, but they were well armed. So that it was a mistake to attack them because of course they have the firepower to fight back. They have the power to fight back against us. It's not like we could just waltz in there, go tra la la, and make them make them obey us. No, that's not going to work. They're well armed and they're a dangerous enemy, and the Ayatollah had enough supporters. The Ayatollah Khamenei had enough supporters that that they will continue his legacy from now on. They're going to continue his legacy, and and um, we don't know what the percentages are. We're in the dark as far as that goes. How many people are glad the Ayatollah is dead? How many people are on the side of America? And how many people were on the side of the Ayatollah and are sad that he's dead? I can't gauge or measure public opinion in Iran because it's a very closed society. Iran is a closed society, and they you know they don't let outsiders in to examine what's going on with the people. And they're certainly not going to propose free elections if they can get away with not offering free elections. So we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen next. It's two forces clashing heads with each other, the irresistible force against the immovable object, and we don't know which one is going to win. But we do know that it's going to be a huge conflict, and more Americans are going to die, just like Trump said. More Americans may die, and he was right. More Americans would die. He was one person from Minnesota, Nicole Amore, and that's just the second Nicole from Minnesota that he's killed in as many days. So, um, yeah, Trump is responsible for the people who died. He's responsible. Their lives were in his hands. He took their lives into his hands, and then he crushed them. So we know that the war in Iran is bad because it's a loss of life and it was unnecessary. It was totally unnecessary, and now gas prices have skyrocketed. That's the least of the troubles that we have, is the skyrocketing price of oil. But price of oil versus human lives. The human lives are more valuable, but the price of oil is another bad addendum to this. And of course, Trump promised to lower prices, but now the price of oil's through the roof. He hasn't lowered the prices of goods and uh, services, and he hasn't lowered prices like he claimed he would. He's raised prices through the roof, just doing what Republicans do best. So it's been bad for our economy, really bad for our economy. And so, what can we do about this war in Iran? Well, one thing we can do is point out that Trump used the war in Iran as a distraction from the Epstein files. The Epstein files problem just went away when Trump started this war in Iran. And that's why he started it. He started the war in Iran to distract people from his own personal problems. He brought us to the brink of warfare. He dragged us kicking and screaming to the brink of warfare. And he did it without consulting Congress, without consulting our allies, without consulting anyone. He brought us to war, and in the process of bringing us to war, he did it so that he could cover up the Epstein files, and no one would ask him any more about the Epstein files, and it worked. It was a gambit, but it worked. No one's discussing the Epstein files anymore. So he made that problem go away for himself. And nobody challenged him on it. Nobody challenged him. Nobody said, what happened to the Epstein files? We were discussing the Epstein files, and suddenly that issue has gone away and we're focused on Iran. But nobody asked. Nobody asked. Nobody proposed that possibility. Nobody blinked an eye, batted an eyelash. No one thought first before rushing headlong into the coverage of the war in Iran and forgetting about the Epstein files altogether. Because if the Epstein files were pursued, it could look very bad for Trump. Heard something a few weeks ago about the Epstein files, that there was actually a young woman who claimed that Trump had sexually abused her. And this young woman, I don't know her name. I don't know what file that came from. I don't know anything about it, but I do know I heard about it. Okay. I don't know if it was a rumor or if it was something that Trump wanted to go away really badly and really fast, but it did go away really, really fast. And Trump wanted that badly, so he started the war in Iran to make the Epstein files go away. And I think that's wrong. I think we should take a fresh look at the Epstein files and figure out why people have stopped focusing on it and why he's been able to make it go away with this war in Iran. It's not in the media anymore. You can't trust the media. The media won't tell you about the war in Iran. Only those who have been victimized and are without justice. Those are the people who will be talking about it, and their voices have been silenced because the media is not covering them. So there's that. And then, of course, there was the meteor. Not a meteorite, a meteor. And this meteor fell to Earth very recently. And I don't need to tell you this, but you probably know this, but in the past, in the olden days, like ancient man, think about ancient man. When there was a star falling from the sky, ancient man took notice. And ancient man believed that it was an omen. A falling star was an omen of bad times ahead. And specifically, it was often the omen that a very big leader, not necessarily a great leader, but that the leader of the land, whoever that may be, was not long for this world. And because of this, because they believed that when there was an omen like a falling meteor, that the leader of the land was not long for this world, they had to discuss it, like ancient men do. And they felt that it either was a sign that a very great leader was about to be born somewhere in the land, that someone important was about to be born, or else that the leader of the land was about to die. So this makes us reflect on the mortality of all of us, and also of Trump, because Trump is the leader of the land. And he may not have that much longer for this world, so we have to think about who's going to replace him. And if Trump didn't make it through his second term, J.D. Vance would be president. And we don't know much about J.D. Vance, except he wrote a book, The Hillbilly Elegy, I think it was. And we know he's a Catholic. He's very devout Catholic, but he questions the current Pope, whether this man is worthy of being Pope. Our newest Pope, well, not our newest Pope, the newest Pope, is an American citizen. And he's living in the Vatican now, but he's an American. So they chose an American Pope, and J.D. Vance was trying to tell the Pope how he should administer his duties. So J.D. Vance is very opinionated. He even speaks down to the Pope, even though he's a Catholic. So that's one thing we know about him. And respect for authority, nah. J.D. Vance doesn't have any respect for authority. Not even Trump's authority, because J.D. Vance used to say about Trump that he thought Trump was bad news, but now he's changed his tune. He's changed his mind and doesn't say anything bad anymore about Trump, but he used to. He used to criticize Trump. So J.D. Vance is a waffler, so I don't think that he's one to be trusted. But he's going to be president if, and it's a very big if anything should happen to Trump. And so we know that now the Iranians are gunning for him. And another thing he did, Trump reinstated trade relations with Russia. He's buying Russian oil now in an attempt to keep the price of oil down. He's buying oil from Russia, and that, of course, supports the war in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine hasn't gone away. It's still going on, the war in Ukraine. It's just that no one's reporting on it anymore. No one's reporting on the war in Ukraine anymore. They're all focused on Iran. But Ukraine now has a liability because Putin can get his hands on as much money as he wants. That's another bad effect of the Iran war. Putin can get his hands on as much money as he wants and prolong the war with Ukraine indefinitely. So Trump has done something very bad, very negative, and he did it all for himself. So I would say at this point in time, we can truthfully say that Trump has become totally evil. Was he evil before? Probably. But he didn't do anything that was so evil that people, oh, well, you may say, well, what about January 6th? Well, January 6th was pretty evil, but he could argue that doing nothing wasn't evil, that he did nothing and that wasn't evil, that he didn't stop the protesters, he didn't call off his dogs and allowed them to run through the Congress unchecked and unruly in behavior and crashing the gates of the Congress and going into the Congress building, the Capitol, and threatening the lawmakers with death, and then Trump just sat there and did nothing. So because Trump did nothing, he can argue, well, I wasn't totally evil because it was them, they did it, and even though I excused them and I gave them all pardons, I wasn't involved, and so I'm not evil. So there's some argument there that he can argue that he wasn't trying to be evil. But now that he started a war for his own personal problems, for his own personal gain, that starting a war for his own personal gain, that is evil. Because people are going to die. A lot of people are going to die, and that's evil. So a lot of people have already died. There's been 1,300 Iranians have died, including their supreme leader, and 13 Americans have died, and 232, I think it's 232 more have been wounded in this war. And here's another thing. There was a plane crash in the region. I don't know if it was in Iraq or where it was, but there was a plane crash in the Middle East region with like 6 Americans aboard, and all of them died. And I still think that somebody is sabotaging our airplanes. Now, one of the planes was shot down, but there was another plane that just crashed, and nobody knows why it crashed. They're going to have to investigate. But I think that was because the planes are being tampered with by somebody. Somebody has been tampering with our planes and causing a lot of crashes, and a lot of people are dying because of the planes being tampered with. We've got to figure out who's doing this, because they're a real criminal and they have to be stopped. So that's it. I hope you guys have been having a good purification and really enjoying having an easier time going, if you take my meaning. Purification, we cleanse our bodies of impurities and toxins. We get rid of toxins, and also we purify our souls. Our souls have been purified by starting with our bodies and then working our way to the soul to purify our souls. So, think good thoughts for purification. Think good thoughts, and it'll be over next Wednesday. In case I don't get back to you again on Wednesday, Wednesday will be the last, the end of purification. It ends on Wednesday, and you can start eating anything you want for breakfast. Breakfast is a holiday where we eat anything we want, and we celebrate the return of the maiden goddess. It's the Festival of the Maiden begins next Wednesday. So I'll get back to you on that, all of that. But just remember a few quick tips. One tip is to eat beans and lentils and chickpeas, that sort of thing, and black-eyed peas. Just the um, the pulses, and also green vegetables. Be sure to eat enough green vegetables. So yes, you can have pulses. You can have pulses, and you can have green vegetables. And after sunset, you can have meat, but no grains. But yes, you can have potatoes, and I recommend eating potatoes with the skin. If you're not into the skin of the potato, that's fine, but I recommend highly that you get the skin for the fiber. And eat plenty of fiber. Another thing you can try is psyllium husk. It's stirred into water and just drink it down. And that'll really help with the purification process. So that's it. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you next Wednesday unless something else comes up. I'll talk to you next Wednesday.